Hello, welcome back to From Soft Serve. Sorry I haven't been more up to date on videos or as active. Hope to fix that very soon. But today, one really cool thing I think it's cool, but I think it's lame to like 99.9% of the population probably. But we're in the depths because it is a really, I think, interesting case of what I'm working on for Dark Souls 3 Remastered. And a lot of it comes down to actually not modifying the meshes themselves, like actually going into Blender and you can modify a lot of these meshes and sort of edit them because a lot of them have issues. And so I wanted to go up to one of the more recent issues I found. Is that one of them? Yeah, technically that one's a little weird. Um, Actually, yeah. No, we'll keep that one on its own for now. But let's see, did I modify that? Let's go to our next mesh to mess around with, because I still have Blender open. Let's see, Blender. Okay. Yeah, so we have the actual map piece open that I've modified so far. And what I'm doing, among many other things, is going in and basically anything that I see that should be sort of round or round appearing, like this pillar, and then like here you can see the little beveled edge. They basically included like one bevel on a lot of the surfaces that could be sort of flat looking, but you'll notice that they did a lot of just one like beveled edge to give a little bit of depth to it. But the problem is in game it looks very geometric. So that's where I wanted to get to the next one that I have not modified yet. Let's see, because I did this one and I think, oh, okay. Oh, wait, it ends there? What the fuck? Oh, you can't get up here? Yeah, you can't get up there. I was like, wait, is that an unexplored area? What the fuck? Yeah, so the next one is 2330. So let's load in 2330. So we're going to load that. You'll see the last time it was modified was September 6th, 2023, which that is specifically when I last didn't. Well, basically, September 6th is whenever I think I installed Dark Souls Remastered on this computer. So that date to me shows that I've made 0 modifications to that specific model file. So I have to just keep that in mind. If I ever see that date, I'm like, oh shit, okay. I didn't do anything to that one yet. Which means I usually then check, does it have bump mapping turned on? Are there any mesh issues? Have I done anything to the textures? Okay, so we loaded this one in. So this is where you'll notice, let's load in game for a second because I want to like do a little split screen here. And yeah, let's load into the game. Let's see if I got my mod engine too. Yes, I do. And let's see if we can run to the spot where I will then show the difference. There's also something on Twitter that I think is probably helpful to describe this difference. It's essentially shading a specific surface of the mesh differently. Because in Blender you can shade flat or shade smooth. And by default in DS1, like everything is just shaded flat, seemingly. And shading smooth is a kind of a shortcut to making something look more geometrically complex, at least to the eye, without actually modifying the mesh at all, which is the ideal solution. You don't actually want to, I don't want to increase the polygon count unless I have to, right? So that's kind of the goal. Let's see. I think the only problem in the depths is that it can be hard to tell where the fuck you're at. So, let's see. Oh, yeah, I think this is the end of the mesh here. I think we're here. Maybe. It's so dark, it's hard to, yeah. Let's see, because you can look at the edges of the meshes, because the ones we're going to be modifying are like the pillars here. Oh yeah, yeah, you can see I haven't modified that one yet, because you'll see the beveled edges are super clear. Okay, rat, I'm going to keep you alive. I'm going to keep you alive, because you're not hurting anyone right now. Let's go down here. Is it down here? Maybe. Oh, okay. Let me. The rats are kind of getting in my way, but that's fair. Actually, let's go the other way. See, this is how I get lost in the depths. I always get lost in the depths, no matter what. Oh yeah, maybe it was the other way? Oh my god, it's this place. No, okay, got it. So that's where that one upper area is that is not accessible. Shit, did I just find UV mapping? Oh, fuck. Yeah, look on that crate. Look at the UV mapping on the side of those planks. Fuck. Oh, the things I find. Too many. Okay, so this ends in a little grate here. Let's go back to Blender. And I'm assuming that also. Okay, so let's go into... yes. Okay, cool. So the next one is 2331. Interesting. Got it. So we now know there's two of them we're going to be modifying. And both have not been modified yet. So that's fucking awesome. That's going to be a perfect comparison. It's kind of dark, so it's not going to be as noticeable. But here we go. We have our two map pieces. Let's go back to Dark Souls Remastered. And let's see what we'll be modifying, which is the like little archway here. And you'll also see the little beveled edge on the wall here. But specifically, let's actually modify. Let's see if we have a good pillar. Yeah, I guess we'll go with the actual archways. Let's do one more. Let's see if we got something. Yeah. Yeah, let's go with like these little archways up here. Yeah. So we got that. Yeah, it's kind of the beveled edge you can see on the actual bottom part. And then the rest of the pillar as well. And then the archways are decently geometric, but also kind of flat looking when you look at them from certain angles. So if we quit out, go back to Blender. I've done a horrible job explaining this, just so you know. I'm sure you're aware. That happens every once in a while. Actually, that happens all the time. That's just kind of my jam. Okay. I think you guys all expect that by this point. Let's see what we got here. So I've been sort of going in between of like shading smooth more things than not. And now I've been a little bit less restrictive on that because it can mess up object shading. So you don't want to do that. So yeah, one of the quick shortcuts to selecting things can be have your cursor over something in Blender and then hit L and it will select like that whole little section. So I found that to be a lot quicker for selecting the things I want to actually modify. So essentially the things I start with are like the archways and anything that has sort of a roundness to them, but it is just basically limited by the actual geometry. So let's select that. That is part of another map piece that I've already modified. Excellent. Excellent. And I think that is the extent of... Oh, we also touched the stairs. Because stairs, you'll notice some of their stairs, they actually do have a little beveled edge. There's a decent number of stairs in the game that do not have this beveled edge. And they're actually just very polygonally simple. And they just have a completely flat edge here. Like it's a box. So I actually will go in and bevel those edges manually. But here, they've already beveled them for me, which is excellent. So I don't need to fuck with that. Oh, I just noticed a texture issue as well. Oh yeah, actually this little section here is not great. Although they have beveled these edges a little bit. I'm in my beveling era now, by the way, just so everyone knows. Yeah, so that selects the whole thing, which I don't want to do. At least not yet. I believe my plan was to generally bevel these edges, because it's kind of just like a box sitting here. I don't know, I always thought it looked weird. But for now, we'll start with the actual like smooth looking things. But anyway, you have them selected, and then you can hit shade smooth. And it just changes the shading a bit to where, and it's like the vertex normals. Blender works some magic and alters them. And yeah, they just end up looking better. So that's part of a different map piece. So that's 2330. Let's export the loose fiber. That is 2330. So that will chuck that back in the game. Let's select our other one here. And let's get our little pillars that we're messing with. Okay, we got that. Nope, got to zoom in farther. It's always been fun to kind of go between DS Map Studio and Blender because they control differently. I need to finally go into Blender and change how it controls to make it more similar to DS Map Studio. Because I know some people prefer how Blender moves, but I do not. I like how DS Map Studio operates and how you can zoom in, and I just find those controls to be a lot better. I might shade smooth on this too, but first we'll just try with that. And let's export. Oh, not that. Okay, let's hit M10. Okay, export fiber. All right, so we have exported those into the game. And now let's go in game and check them again. And it is going to be subtle. Like, I know I'm a sicko, and a lot of these things aren't going to be massively noticeable. But like on this little, on the bottom part of this pillar now, you can notice that it just makes the geometric, like the actual beveling, less noticeable. And so from a distance, you just go, oh, that looks nice. Okay, cool. And then the pillars as well. The pillars are one of the bigger improvements, and they just look way better when you shade them smooth, because you're just not. And then also the archways now look much more, they're just much more smooth. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. And so the stairs, oh my God, the stairs look better. Because that beveled edge now, you can't really notice the bevel nearly as much when you're just kind of, because most people obviously are just going to be like running, and they're never going to notice anyway. So a lot of these things are just not super important, but I do them because I care, and I think that, you know, oh yeah. So the one thing I do notice, I think I need to unshade this smooth, as the shading now is not matching up to the wall. And so the actual way that the player lantern is hitting it is not the same. So that's where we'll go back in. I believe it's actually this right here. And so that's the cool thing, is you can fix issues like this super quickly. So that's where I'm actually going to just want to select this itself and not use the little L trick. Because I actually do want to still shade that top part smooth. It's just going to be this that I will actually shade flat. And yeah, we're actually going to do it to the other part as well. The other thing you could do is you could just select it, but then you have to go through and unselect this if you hit L. So I tend to just go, okay, you know what? I'm just going to select it. And I hold down Shift. And so that basically keeps your selection. And I'm sure every time I talk about Blender, I always get a ton of suggestions in the chat, which are helpful. Because there's infinite amount of suggestions for Blender. But yeah, we'll shade that flat again, because the way that the shading works and how the light hits it. So you do want to be careful with how you do that. And I don't know. So I got to go back and make sure I haven't fucked up a ton of stuff. But I go in game and, you know, I eyeball it. So then let's go back. Let's have more of my coffee. Yeah, so now you'll see it shades the same as the rest, and you still get the benefit on the other surfaces. So there's a bit of a, you know, obviously it's, you gotta pick and choose what to actually work with. I think the other change, yeah, oh man, look at that texture issue. Oh my God. Oh my God. So I will admit, UV mapping is not my specialty. I have been getting a little bit more used to UV mapping itself, but I admit, yeah, because that ends up connecting to everything else. That makes it a little bit more difficult because you want to keep it consistent. So if you were to just select the bad, oh God, man, this thing has a shitload of UV mapping issues. Yeah, you'll see that edge is a little bit different. Because yeah, if you were to just grab the edges that were incorrect or look like shit, and then you unwrap those, of course, it actually, by default, sometimes you get lucky and where the unwrapping process just makes it look better by default. And I do think in this case, I don't need perfect uniformity where it like perfectly matches with every other texture. But you will notice, yeah, this beveled edge, well, it kind of matches there, but then the further it goes, it seems like it doesn't match up as well. That's where basically I try to choose an overall section, but in this case, I don't really want to fuck up this top part. So usually I'll just select the offending edges, which we got here and here. And I think if I can knock out a decent chunk of these, a chunk-a-do, if you will, I think I'll just grab this whole little side here. Yeah, I gotta remember to use shift a little bit. And so if we grab this little front portion, and then we also mess with this front portion here, I believe that should look pretty decent. Because it will be separate from the top part, and then I can mess with this on its own. And that ends up being part of another texture, so we're not going to mess with that. This UV mapping is also bad, so we're just going to grab this little front part of the mesh. Let's see if we have our selection correct. Yes, we do. Now, it will likely not match up with that perfectly, but if you unwrap it, it kind of gets a little wonky. So, because obviously after you unwrap, you can go to UV editing, the actual tab for that, and it will then show you what it's been doing and how it unwrapped it. One thing I've actually had a good amount of success with is the smart UV mapping, and you do that. So yeah, you get your second tab here, and then turn on your texturing again, or go to that view, and then usually smart UV project. And that actually looks pretty decent on its own, because I'm okay that it's not going to match up perfectly to the other surface, because obviously it's very dark. I just don't think it's that important in this case. It just needs to look good from a distance. And yeah, you'll see the vertices definitely a little wonky on this. Yeah, not great. What if I go back to unwrap? And then usually the unwrap, sometimes you get lucky and that actually looks pretty decent. And then the difference is, yeah, actually the unwrap in this case looks better. And we'll basically, I just alter the actual, scale of the texture mapping so that it has decent, yeah, you also see that it's rotated off a bit to where the texture is not oriented the correct way. So you can kind of play around with that to make sure that, okay, it's close enough. Is it perfect? Not necessarily, but is it an improvement over what it was before? Yes, yes it is. So we will export the loose fiber. We now have the UV mapping improved. It's not perfect, but I'm definitely better at UV mapping than I was before. Yeah, so there's still that one edge that is getting shaded a little differently because of the vertices. I think it's a little bit, so I can clean that up a bit later. That is not the focus of the video. But yeah, small little improvements to really essentially every inch of Dark Souls 3 Remastered. I am going through manually. And, oh yeah, this doorway was another thing that I messed with. This one was really cool because I actually stripped out a lot of this green archway. Because by default, they were just using this giant green archway. And I saw on the inside of this other mesh, the pillars, and then the top part was the green archway. But when you came out here, it was just one big green archway, and it didn't have these other geometric, like the pillars that look like these pillars. So I actually ended up duplicating these pillars, moving it down, slicing out the green, so that way it matches up way better and it looks better. I also beveled the edges on these little trim pieces so that they look better, and then smooth shading on the actual step here, and it just looks worlds of difference better. And you also get the smooth shading on the top part of this, and so I did it on the stairs here. And I'm really trying to go through the game. Yeah, this is actually the best example. Let me go to my Twitter. Actually, yeah, this archway looks really... Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so I hadn't noticed this, but the archway on the left side here versus the right side. The right side has it sort of like intersecting with a bunch of polygons. But then the other side looks fine. Weird. Yeah, the best example is actually this beveled edge that I added to this. Oh my god, let me go to my Twitter feed. We'll end it there because I don't want to go too crazy on beveling. You know, as much as I love beveling. Oh yeah, look at that photo. Apparently people are saying that if you're a sick individual, if you're attracted to women over 30, that's bananas. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Oh yeah, here's that cool texture I found in Isolith back in February. I retweeted that. Yeah, so let's go to this. Zoom in. And so yeah, this is without smooth shading on the left. And this honestly is the better picture than anything I talked about for the last 10 minutes or whatever the fuck I was talking about. But yeah, look at that beveled edge, which is great. We love beveling. We love adding complexity. But in game, you can see that beveled edge very clearly. If you turn on smooth shading without any other modifications to the mesh, look how much better that looks. That just looks so much more geometrically like complex and smooth, and yet you haven't changed anything. So that's the goal. That's the reason why I'm doing this, and really trying to smooth out a lot of the rough edges, quite literally, and that will be the title of this video, of Dark Souls 1, because it was obviously PS3 360, and it was limited by that. And so I've had a lot of variations of like stairs that are less complex, stairs that are more complex. Some have beveled edges, some don't. And so I'm trying to align all of them to a higher polygonal standard, or at least look that way. And that's why this change is one of my favorites, because it isn't changing the actual amount of polygons at all. So there shouldn't be a performance penalty, which would be negligible anyway. And so you get an improved look, but without actually just making something more complex for making it more complex, right? For reasons. And I think I always want to keep that in mind, that I'm only changing things because it is legitimately upgrading it, but not trampling on what it originally was supposed to look like. So this is a happy, I don't know, confluence of events here where, yeah, I think it looks better. I don't even know what I'm trying to say at this point. But basically, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, like, comment, subscribe. I have a Patreon. You get ad-free videos. You get Google Drive links to my mods. I also have a Ko-fi, if you want to donate directly to support the mod. That is excellent. Very cool. Never needed, but always very cash money. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.